almost like the Jehovah's Witnesses had a good thing and they just ruined it. Let's call it what it is, Amani. It was cancel culture.
Before we had cancel culture, it really was.
J-Dub style, erasing people, canceling people, shunning people, ostracizing people. Great. You can say hi to me for 5 seconds because 12 men in upstate New York finally gave you permission to speak to your own child. But the thing that officially set me off and to where I revoked my membership and said I cannot align myself with this organization was for me. For me personally, it was empowering to write a letter. And by write a letter, I mean it was 2 sentences. Take me off your roster. I want nothing to do with you. Sign on the dotted line. And I literally lost my parents overnight.
So I'm sure by looking at the preview, you recognize that person. She is Bethany Leger with Stop the Shunning. I'll just go ahead and cut to the chase. She's the person I interviewed in today's interview. I'm very honored that she took some time out of her busy schedule with Seeds of Awakening to share her story. First, this is Seeds of Awakening. I'm a writing channel. This is your home for XJW tales from folks who've escaped high control religions like JWs, Jehovah's Witnesses. All right, so first, make sure you like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, share this content, or just thumbs up it. That's the best thing to do. Or if you like this interview, please leave a comment. I'll love to see what your thoughts are on this content. All right, so without further ado, let's welcome Bethany Leger. She operates the very popular YouTube channel called Stop the Shunning. She features JW tips on survival, how to escape the religion, and also she features interviews from folks who've experienced shunning like she has. Let's welcome Bethany now and meet her and learn her story. All right, so I'm really excited about this interview. Seeds of Awakening. Welcome to Bethany Leger, who I thought was Lager, but it's not that. So thank you for correcting me.
All good. I don't expect anybody to know how to pronounce that. I didn't know how to pronounce it until I married the guy, so.
True, true, true. Yeah, so let's just hop into it. Where are you from? You're obviously raised JW, but how was your youth? What was life like for you growing up?
Yeah, first of all, I just want to thank you for inviting me on. This is really cool to connect with a fellow ex-J-Dub. You know what it was like. Yeah, I mean, I was born into a devout Jehovah's Witness household. I was a third generation witness, so my parents were witnesses, their parents were witnesses, but my grandparents and my extended family kind of just fractured off. And so I have a lot of extended family who are not Jehovah's Witnesses, have not been for many decades. So, but my parents, I was raised in a very devout household. But yeah, we were just a solid witness family. I think if there's like a spectrum of like crazy fanatical Jehovah's Witness families and then like flaky families at the other end, we were just like a solid kind of
Just
in the
regular in the
middle.
middle, going to meetings, go to field service, not really extreme.
Exactly. I would not know. My parents were absolutely not extreme. Yeah, we were just going through the motions, putting in the time but I was very much well, anyways, I don't want to jump ahead. But yeah, I mean like basically we're just a balanced solid witness family. But I think what I what I kind of want to say is like every family, Amani, has a level of dysfunction and issues, and
Hmm.
so our family wasn't perfect. No family is. Every family has its flaws. The thing that if we're talking about background and who I was as a Jehovah's Witness and my bringing up my parents right away, my parents were fairly balanced. They weren't like lunatic Jehovah's Witnesses, but being Jehovah's Witnesses added way more stress and strain and complications to our family life than was necessary. So it's not like I was ever looking for perfection from my parents or perfection from my family. It was the hypocrisy of we have to look like we're one big happy family and put on a smile and go to the Kingdom Hall. Does that make sense?
It's the pressure to look like you have it all together.
Exactly. So it's not like I fault my parents for whatever, they're not perfect. I'm not perfect. Nobody is. But I would appreciate more transparency and just being real. Not like cut the BS and just be,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? Just be real with each other and work on stuff together. And then to this day, bottom line, to this day, that would mean I would still have a relationship with my parents. But because of the organization and my issues with the ideology and the doctrine and the whole JW thing, because
Right.
I left it, because I left it in 2017, I've been shunned since 2017, which is why I have the channel Stop the Shunning and revoke because I revoked my membership.
By the way, I want to mention that Bethany actually interviewed me on her channel not too long ago. So if you'd like to see that interview, please click the link. I think I'll leave a card on this side or this side. You can check that out, or also wait to the end of this video, and I'll also leave a link to it in the description. Check out my interview with Bethany, where she interviews me on her channel, Stop the Shunning. You have a great channel, great platform. I feel kind of honored, like I'm talking to YouTube
Oh,
celebrity, straight up celebrity here.
that's funny. Maybe I don't know what to say to that other than thank you. I feel
Yes,
honored. I feel honored to speak to you because this is it's so crazy how we all came from the same thing. We may have different circumstances, but we all have that shared, I don't want to say trauma bond.
shared experience, though, is the shared communication, shared language and vernacular.
Yes. And so
Hmm.
it's like it's almost like the Jehovah's Witnesses had a good thing and they just ruined it. We could have had
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, if they wouldn't have had such strict rules, like they would have a very strong organization right now, I feel.
yes, like you would actually feel because I feel like we would have just tying back to your kindness, your kind words, just we would have actually had a brotherhood if there weren't so many. That's kind of what I'm saying about my parents. Like my
Yeah,
parents, we would have been fine. Every family has its stuff, but to act like we were, it was the hypocrisy of all of it, to act like everything's perfect and you have to have your shit together, excuse me, at all times.
right.
Just it's unrealistic and it's a burden on family dynamics. It's not real. I would have preferred uh Jehovah's Witnesses just keep it real and not act like they're superior to other groups and have they have the answers and they're happier for it. No, we're not.
Hmm.
No, we're
Right.
not. We're just like I don't begrudge you your beliefs. Just quit acting like you have it better than everybody else because you don't. There's a lot of dysfunction in that organization, as
True
you
enough.
know.
Yep. So are you just an only child or you have brothers and sisters as well?
I have one brother.
Okay.
I have one brother. So we're 10 years apart. So when I was 6 years old, my brother was disfellowshipped for something stupid. Teenage boys getting into stuff like smoking a joint or something, just something
Right.
dumb, some dumb minor offense. And he got disfellowshipped and he was out for 2 years, got reinstated back into the congregation. For anybody who's watching who doesn't understand kind of this like jargon or whatever, got excommunicated out for 2 years and you do that to a minor.
Right.
My brother, he was a very sensitive. Like I knew my brother. It's your family. It's your flesh and blood.
Mhm.
So you know your sibling. And I looked up to my brother and loved my brother so much. And so that was a very weird thing as a kid to see a group of people in a congregation, all these adults in a room ignoring somebody. So
Right.
whether it was my brother or somebody else who was disfellowshipped or excommunicated, sitting there looking like death. And so he got reinstated at 18, and then he was inactive for a long time, and then he went back to the organization. That's the great irony of this story is my brother went back. So I don't know. We don't have any relationship at this point.
Did you learn anything being so young from your brother, seeing him get his fellowship? Did you learn anything from his example, or did that sort of give you a sort of feeling or anything like that?
Um, like what it taught me about the organization
Yeah,
specifically. I
did
want
it
to
like
extract.
did you
Okay.
get any hints like not to get baptized or not to
Oh,
really
no, it was that's a good question. His experience watching my brother be disfellowshipped, it was just a bizarre observation. It didn't I was too young. Let me put it
Hmm.
this way. This might sound, I'm going to answer your question, but I kind of have to go forward and then walk back. I never fully 100% believed it, but I was not a PMO, physically in, mentally out. I actually believed it was the truth because that's what I was taught. I knew nothing else. Um, but so because I think there's a distinction people don't understand. They think just because you have doubts, it doesn't mean you're necessarily PMO. You can still be in and just think it's drudgery and an obligation, and this is
And you're
something you do.
bored out of your mind. Exactly.
Bored out of your mind. Exactly. I was more artsy. I did ballet. I painted. I
Hmm.
just my I was colored outside the proverbial lines. So that it was a very rigid environment, but I'm like, this is what I have to do. Where am I to go to, Lord? I have to follow this, follow my parents' religion. And then when I became aware that, not that it was a quote cult, but when I became aware of like, oh, there's more to this. This isn't just me going to church or the Kingdom Hall with my parents as a little kid. My point is, as a child looking up, you asked me about like, did that experience
Yeah, leave an impression on you, whatever.
impression. Yeah, it left a negative impression, but you don't have the language as a child, as a small child, to
Right,
articulate what's happening. You grow up and you go, "This is crazy. This is batshit." Shunning a 16-year-old kid.
right.
I don't care what he did, unless he murdered a whole family and he's in prison or whatever. And even then, mamas still go to visit their sons in prison. You get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So it was such a harsh, weird normalization or normalizing of it was basic, like, let's call it what it is, Amani. It was cancel culture.
Before we had cancel culture, it really was.
J-Dub style, erasing people, canceling people, shunning people, ostracizing people, and not just people, family members. So
I didn't realize how psychologically damaging it was either until more recently, until I started looking at XJW content. It was just sort of a normal part of the culture, but it really is terrible, a terrible act, really, to break up families and tell someone not to talk to someone for years and years.
it's completely, yes, it's completely inhumane. And Amani, I've said this before. I don't mind if you shun me or don't talk to me because you've heard my position on various things, you don't agree with me, or you think I pose a legitimate threat, and then your conscience dictates that you don't talk to me.
Hmm.
But we all know, Amani, you and I know, that's not how the Jehovah's Witnesses operate. They're getting directives from the governing body, the centralized
Oh
leadership.
yeah, 100%.
And so that's why my parents shun me, because the governing body says your daughter's dangerous because she's questioning us.
Well,
So
even the whole fact they changed the wording to his fellowship to removed, which everyone still calls it DF, but
it's putting it's
removal.
putting lipstick on a pig. It's
It
it's
really
just shuffling the papers around
It
the
really
desk.
is. And then changing the policy where we now can make a casual greeting to a brother who's at the Kingdom Hall. It's so lip service, like, oh, that's what you're doing now, but you're still shunning people. And there's still people who have the culture in indoctrinated so they don't want to talk to someone who's been disfellowshipped or removed.
It's too late. It's
Hmm.
too late. Thousands people when thank you for bringing this up because what you're touching on, Amani, is the culture of Jehovah's Witnesses. They put one thing in print or might make what seems to be reforms, loving reforms, but it's all careful semantics
Right.
to keep themselves as an organization out of hot water.
Maybe
Uh,
legally more than anything, it seems like.
yes, yes,
Hmm.
legally. And but the damage is done. People have literally, for anybody who's watching who doesn't realize this, countless numbers have unalived themselves. I have personally lost friends in that way
So
because of
horrible.
the shunning policy. So you can play that game of, and here's the thing, great. You can say hi to me for 5 seconds because 12 men in upstate New York finally gave you permission to speak to your own child. People are not using their critical thinking skills. So that's why I said I would rather somebody just shun me because they just feel that I'm a legitimate threat to their safety or they don't like me or whatever the thing is. That's fine. But to tell people they cannot speak to their family members who are not even Amani, not even leaving, guns blazing, so to speak, like
Hmm.
angry, but just like, hey, I have concerns or I have doubts or whatever that is.
I just don't believe it anymore. I just
I
really
just
don't
don't,
believe. I just don't want to go to the meetings anymore. We're not going to talk to you. Seems
yeah,
so drastic. Seems so extreme.
exactly. It's drastic, it's extreme. Amani, I don't care that my parents are Jehovah's Witnesses. I don't have to agree with them. That's a whole other subject of like just being
Hmm.
able to disagree with somebody and still coexist. That's anyways, yeah. So I don't care
So
that
what
I
happened?
don't care that
How do we get here anyway? So you were a Joe's Witness, but then obviously you're not anymore. So at one point, did you have questions? Did you research what led to your sort of realizing that maybe it's not the truth or maybe something else is going on?
yeah. I was just never happy. I was never that's kind of tying back to the beginning. I was never happy as a Jehovah's Witness. And when I say happy, I don't mean life has to be happy 24/7. You got life, bills, work, there's going to be challenges, but it was hypocrisy. That's the key, the common thread through everything is as far as no, I did not have questions or doubts.
Okay.
Let me I'm trying to find a way to formulate my answer for you. I never cared. This is me. Other people will have different waking up stories. I never cared about the doctrine and the Noah's Ark. Some people woke up because they're like, that's not possible, what we were told. Or there's some scientific reasons, and those are all valid reasons. Like to me, all of it just felt like just some kind of magical gobbledygook, goofy Armageddon fear-mongering stuff. I never really bought into any of that. Um, my litmus test or what woke me up, well, there's certain things or events that opened my eyes and forced my hand to disassociate me personally of why I didn't want to align myself with the organization. But as far as doubts, it wasn't like, oh, I wonder about 1914 or
Right.
607 BCE. It was for me personally, I just wasn't happy. And what does that tell you if we're supposed to be the happiest people on earth? I didn't feel inner peace. I had extreme anxiety. I'll spit it out, anxiety and depression. And
Mhm.
a lot of people have anxiety and depression for different reasons. But if we're being told that we have the truth and the truth will set us free, why do I feel enslaved? And quite frankly, Amani, you and I know I'm not telling you anything you don't know. That was originally Charles Taze Russell's the
Reason for starting the Bible
founders
students.
reason
Yep.
for starting the Bible students. He may have been kooky. We can go down that rabbit hole of whatever, pyramidology or whatever the thing is. He had some kooky ideas, but you know that at the very root of the Jehovah's Witnesses with Charles Taze Russell, he was even writing things like when we start using the word organization, then
Something's wrong. Yep.
something's wrong. Or when, we shouldn't enslave our brothers. We don't believe in hellfire. Things that were freedom of thought. He was very pro freedom of thought because he felt enslaved um, to the church prior, and he was looking for truth, and he was doing some soul searching, and the organization became the very thing it claimed to be against.
Really
And now it
did.
enslaves people and enforces these rules. They push shunning and excommunication in the 80s after railing against the Catholic Church. You see what I'm saying? So why do I feel if I'm supposed to be we're Jehovah's happy people and we have the best, it's like I'm loving it like McDonald's. If we have
Right.
the best life ever, why am I so miserable? And it's because your whole belief system is based, or I should say relationships without getting into the beliefs part. Well, I mean, I guess this does get the two tie together. The beliefs and the relationships with other congregants or the fellowship of the organization. It's all based on a threat. So truth shouldn't fear scrutiny. I know we've all
Right.
heard that, but
Yep.
do you see what I'm saying? It's not a matter of me getting on the internet and just shitting on the witnesses and being like they're so stupid
Right.
and just being arbitrary about it. I don't care even if it doesn't sit right with me or I don't really 100% buy it. I don't begrudge Jehovah's Witnesses, including my parents. I don't begrudge them their belief system or their values or believing in Jehovah. That's cool. I'm not going to take that away from you. What I do question is a group of men telling you you can't speak to your own child.
Right.
It's the rules that or the overreach. Because I don't even think it's wrong necessarily to have some rules like, hey, in our congregation, we don't allow people with a criminal record. You got to go. Or you got. So I'm not saying it has to be a free for all, but there's this unreasonable um there's this overreach. That's the only word that I can think of
Hmm.
in families and subjugate. You have to subjugate your conscience to the leadership. And I'm thinking, whoa, 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 hold up. But wasn't that the whole point of us starting the Jehovah's Witnesses? We were
Right.
we were supposed to not be like the churches of Christendom that enslaved people with fear and hellfire and all. It's just like we became the thing.
In their own way, they really did.
Yeah, exactly. So that's really the thing. I was just very anxious, not happy. And to me, that was the litmus test I needed. I was just like, I don't really, even if it was the quote, the truth, and you were correct about everything, I'm miserable. So what's more important to you? Having a happy child, however old that child ends up being. I'm going to be 40 next year. I left when I was 30. But, having a happy, healthy child, who it doesn't begrudge you your beliefs and how you do things, or she has to stick with it no matter what, or we're going to shun her. Like it just, okay, so
So
you'd rather be a
you
miserable
want to hold a
Jehovah's
gun to your head.
Witness.
Do you love Jehovah? You love Jehovah, don't you?
It is so funny you bring that up, Amani, because when I was waking up and freaking out and realizing that I was in fact in a cult and that I was that I was Pimo at that point. Then I realized it wasn't the truth. When that happened and I reached out, I didn't reach out. I wrote my letter and I told my folks that I was going to disassociate.
Mhm.
That was exactly what my father said to me. He says, "No one held a gun to your head to get baptized." That's a lot to unpack, Amani.
That's a lot. It's like when I remember I was watching a home video of me after I graduated from college, and we were talking about like going to prom, and I was talking to my dad. I was like, "Well, I didn't go to my prom because I was getting pressure from my dad not to go." He's like, "Well, I didn't order you not to go to prom, did I?" I was like, "Well, no, but you added so much pressure to my life that I really didn't want to deal with it."
Exactly. So it's a
Yep.
form of gaslighting. And it's like,
Hmm.
whoa, 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 hold up. You raised me in this from birth. It's the truth. It's the one and only religion. God's going to kill me if I don't get baptized. And that's how you learn as a child how you earn love. And what's going to happen if you don't get baptized? You think they're going to be quiet about that, Amani? You think they're
Yeah.
just going to let that go? Hell no. They're going to harass you and badger you until you do.
When are you
And
getting baptized? When are you getting baptized? When are you getting baptized?
exactly, exactly. So, and for those who didn't, fine, then you didn't. And guess what? The irony of that, a lot of people say, well, just why did you get baptized? You're pressured into it. And for some who managed to not get baptized, you got two camps of people. You got some people who didn't get baptized, and so therefore they're not shunned. Their family is dumb enough to follow this loophole, baptism loophole. But guess what, Amani? A lot of people didn't get baptized. They're still shunned because
Hmm.
that's Jehovah's Witness culture. So some
It's either you're
people
in or it's either you're in the club or you're not.
are either in the
And
club or
baptism is the club that is the act that gets you in the club officially.
it's the membership. It's the membership passage. Yeah.
So I know that you were feeling depression and you were feeling some anxiety, but what did any information lead to you realizing it was a cult or going to your PMO status? What kind of led to that?
So yeah, I mean, it all sounded ridiculous. As far as the information, let me quickly answer that. It was when I found out about the child, the CSA cases.
Hmm.
That was the so if besides the other stuff of just like this lifestyle, it's so rigid, I'm bored, it's not when any creative expression is discouraged, I'm just not happy. When it came to information, it was finding out multiple things. So the United involvement in the United Nations. You know how many damn Saturdays I spent, Amani, studying that grand, what was it?
The Revelation book.
The Revelation book. It's
That one
Grand
put me to
Climax.
sleep. I went to sleep many book study because of that book, man. Me and my brother used to cut up during the book study with that book.
We hated it.
I didn't understand it. Yeah.
Now that book is obsolete.
Is
It's
it?
all, oh yeah, it's obsolete. They don't use that. They don't use that book
Mm.
because everything they taught in it is now wrong because now they have new light. That's the Jehovah's Witnesses for you. But so my point being is that I spent, you know how many times I spent in my youth studying this book and studying their crazy, I call it a Rubik's cube. It's like every little piece has to fit together for their belief system to work. It's
Hmm.
crazy. So I'm subjected to this growing up, and only to find out, only to grow up and be in my 30s and be like, holy, they were part of they were part of the United Nations when I was reading about to clarify, you're reading about how the United Nations is evil and is going to be destroyed. And we find out the Jehovah's Witnesses were a registered NGO with the United Nations for over 10 years. So they could like use their library or something, whatever. JWFacts.com is an excellent resource.
Yeah. Yeah, I read about it there, I think.
Yeah, JW facts. I'm not an expert on that. I'm not claiming to be, but that was like, whoa, hold up.
The
That,
hypocrisy of that was just like blew the lid off basically. Like, what's going on?
yes. Do you see what you just said? Hypocrisy.
Hmm.
That's what it is. It's this common thread. Um, yeah, so there was the United Nations, but then also the thing that officially, I mean, I was already on my way out, but the thing that officially set me off and to where I revoked my membership and said I cannot align myself with this organization was the CSA cover up, and that the Jehovah's Witnesses have been hiding a database of thousands of the sex offenders, predators, abusers in this database that was never reported to law enforcement. That's the key. Um, just absolutely vile. And we spent, and you tell me if you went through this too, Amani. Again, spent my youth hearing that the Catholic Church is horrible. The Catholics, we railed against the Catholics. The Catholics have a problem with CSA and mishandling of CSA, only to grow up and find out, oh my God, I'm trying not to have a completely foul mouth on your channel.
You can say
Um,
whatever, I don't care.
like, I mean, just, it was disgusting. It was
Hmm.
hypocritical again. But shocking. The word is shocking. Truly shocking that so many children, and I don't need to get detailed, but to know that they were doing the very thing that they said they were against. We advocate
They were covering it up, man,
covering it
basically.
up, this
Yep.
massive cover up.
Yep.
So, um, the nonsensical theological side, put that aside. The United Nations and the CSA cover up, I was done.
Hmm.
That and
So
that's when I disassociated. Sorry.
so you decided to send in a letter, make it official, just kind of break up the marriage. What was that like? And was it the same as getting disfellowship, basically? Like, was this thing the same as getting removed? Did it feel like?
I have no clue what they said or did. I just wrote a letter. My husband and I, we left together. Um,
So what was that like? You left with your husband. Did he kind of was he feeling the same thing you were?
so my husband was waking up uh, before I was. And it's funny because he was really hardcore believer, like true blue believer, whereas I wasn't. So it bothered him far more. It
Hmm.
bothered me too, but it for him it was like his whole worldview was crumbling and
Right.
crashing down. It was it was just I
Because he
can't.
believed it to his core, so it's like his whole life was
Yes,
flipped upside down.
he believed it
Mhm.
to his core. So his whole life exactly, his whole
Yeah.
life exactly was flipped upside down. Whereas with me, it confirmed my suspicions.
Right.
So it's not like, oh well, there you go. But of course it's not flippant. It had real life consequences. Never saw my parents again um when I disassociated, but it was for me more so a relief, knowing there would be consequences. Obviously, been living it since 2017. But for me, it was more of a relief, not because I'm happy that it happened. I'm not happy that there's CSA. I'm not happy that they lied about the UN. I'm not happy about those things. But it was like, I know that I'm not crazy. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's not, it just confirmed my suspicions. I'm like, something feels off. My intuition was always speaking to me. So you talk about seeds of awakening and like,
Hmm.
it's like my intuition or my gut always said something was off about the Jehovah's Witnesses and about my upbringing. Or else spiritually in my core, I would feel settled. I would feel at peace, but I didn't. It was tumultuous. But I didn't necessarily have a physical or manifestation or what's the word I'm looking for? I couldn't pinpoint what it was. It's like
Right.
I can point to this. No, it was just growing up in it. I'm like something feels off, something feels wrong.
It's like a gut feeling. Something was just telling me, man, something's off with this. These old white men in New York.
Yes. Yeah, just the whole thing just felt very man. It felt like almost like the movie Don't Worry, Darling, or like the Stepford Wives or anything. Just kind of that very canned, manufactured, hollow, robotic. It didn't feel authentic. And I know everybody's
Yeah.
so sick of that word. There's certain buzzwords in our lexicon everybody's tired of, like trauma, trauma, authentic, those were, but seriously, it didn't feel authentic. It felt like it felt like I had that invisible gun. Yes, Dad. Yes, Pop. I had
Right.
that invisible gun to my head from birth, so don't tell me that I didn't.
So what was that first conversation like with your husband when you both realized that you weren't
Oh,
really believing in the lies? Like what was that or believing in the organization anymore?
so I'm glad you brought that up again because tying back to what I was saying earlier, it shook him to his core. And for me, it just confirmed my suspicions. However, Amani, while we were waking up, I didn't want to hear it. Isn't that funny? I mean, I thought it was fu not haha funny, but like, I didn't want to hear it. He'd be like, look at this. And he'd show me stuff, and I'd be like, I can't. I was so overwhelmed
Right.
because of what the implications would be if it meant it's not the truth. And I'm waking up, and then that means I have to make a decision because I can't live with this. Personally, that's me personally. Some people, Amani, you got people sitting in the organization right now who are fully aware of everything. I don't know how they stomach it.
Yeah, it has to
And
be a lot of pressure, a lot of like, I don't
yes,
know. I don't know how they deal with it because it's like such cognitive dissonance. How are you going to go to a meeting that you don't believe in?
and here's the thing, and here's what you just said, a lot of pressure. I can respect somebody who is under pressure because they are financially dependent on their family or there's some sort of mitigating circumstance and they can't just, because I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, just leave. That's easy
Right.
for me to say. I don't have to live with the results of your decision. What I don't understand is people who can walk away, not be on the street. They're going to be okay. You're going to eat tonight. You're not going to be homeless. You're going to be okay. You and your spouse can walk away. You can start over. Is there going to be fallout? Of course. No one walks away unscathed. But it's the trade-off of not it's the issue of not making that trade-off
Mhm.
and staying. That I don't understand because it's like your relationship with your parents is built on a threat. Do you think that's a genuine relationship? I got news for you. It's not. They're not accepting you for who you are.
Right.
They're not accepting the real you. They're accepting the Jehovah's Witness version of
It's
you.
conditional at the end of the day. It's very conditional.
And why would you want to put up with that? That's
Mhm.
me. I personally don't understand or respect that. That's just my take. When you know you can walk away and be have all, and I know some people are going to disagree with this take and disagree with what I'm saying, and that's okay. That's their life. I don't have to live it. But if we're talking about this and PMOs, I get it if there's mitigating circumstances or you're dependent, there's something going on. But as far as like just rolling with it because it's going to suck. No one should have to make that decision. It's wrong. It's not their fault. Do you get what I'm saying? I'm not saying it's their fault. Watchtower did this to them. Their family is doing this to them. They have a threat that's being laid on them. Personally, I wasn't going to put up with the threat. I don't do well when I'm threatened.
Most people don't.
So, and then you're not going to be loving me for who I genuinely, authentically am.
Mhm.
And I deserve better. And I think those people who are doing that deserve better. And by taking a stand and leaving, they're sending a clear message. And, you know, your family shuns you. It's not right. It's not right. I don't wish it on anybody. But at the same time, it's like, really, I have to be a Jehovah's Witness to earn your love? No,
Well, that's why,
I'm not playing that game for the rest of my life.
yeah, that's why I asked the question. If the results end up being the same, whether you disassociate or get this fellowship, because at the end of the day, like they're still going to
Oh,
shun you, right?
yeah, they're going to shun you no matter what. Yeah, whether you
Yeah.
get kicked out or you leave of your own volition. Excuse
I
me.
guess the only other option would be to fade, like slowly, just to, remove yourself from the organization, but they might shun you still.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So when it comes to fading, are you asking me about fading?
Oh, we can go that if that's the direction you want to go, and we can talk about it,
I
but not necessarily.
I just think fading is a good again, this is just my take on it because I don't have to live with the results, but fading is like a pit stop. It depends on the situation, the family, whatever's going on. Fading is good to figure out what your next steps are. It's good to buy time
Hmm.
and uh figure out your next move. I did that. I faded for about 6 to 9 months. It gets fuzzy, but like throughout 2017, I faded. Yeah, totally. But to use fading, let me, some people will fade forever just hoping to not be shunned. No, 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 no. But here's the thing. Some people, it just depends on their life and their circumstances and their dynamic with their family, where that's fine. Fade. If it's not going to be you don't need to write out
Right.
a letter and do the whole, do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's a matter of empowerment. What's going to be best for you or what's going to empower you.
Hmm.
So for me, for me personally, it was empowering to write a letter. And by write a letter, I mean it was 2 sentences. Take me off your roster. I want nothing to do with you. Sign on the dotted line. To me, that was an empowering move that was a demarcation. It was a distinction between my old life and my new life. It's like return to sender. It was a
Right.
return to sender moment. Other people, I don't need to do that. I got my brothers, my cousins, my husband, wife, whatever. My dad's cool, my mom's cool. I don't need to, and they just fade, and it's
Yep.
cool. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, totally.
It really
100%.
it depends on the situation, but when people use fading to placate their parents, it's the same game, and like you said, could have the same result. They end up shunning you anyway when they find out that you don't really believe.
Yeah, so what kind of deconstruction did you have to do? I know your husband was deeply affected, but how did that affect you?
Yeah, I mean, like, so what we were just kind of tying back to what we were talking about earlier was that his whole worldview was crashing down. He was really fully in it. But what was funny or ironic about it, Amani, is that he was bringing me information. He was deconstructing before I was,
Okay.
and he was bringing me the information, going, "Have you seen this? Have you seen this? Look at this!" And he's freaking out, and I don't want to, I'm like, it was overwhelming my nervous system. It was like, it meant too much because, and there's a point to what I'm saying. Uh, I'm one of these that goes in different directions and then I promise I'm
It's
going to
all good.
tie it.
We're gonna connect all the dots.
I'm gonna connect all the dots. The dots are scattered, but trust me, it'll all connect. But he was waking up. He was showing me all this information. I was stressed out and almost resented him for it. It was kind of like I don't want to like stop. Like okay, okay, I get it. You're frustrated and you're kind of going through your own whatever faith crisis, but and the irony of that is I wasn't happy as a witness. You would think I'd be like, "Yes, give me the info." Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You'd think I would have been like, oh yeah, F these people, like I would have been like excited about it. But because it carried so many implications that if it wasn't, quote, the truth, then I had choices to make. And what I mean by that is I know tying back to what I said earlier with the fading thing, it's not my life. You do whatever you want. You can disassociate, fade, whatever. So when I say, I don't respect somebody who fades, I know somebody out there's going to be like, F this chick. I'm going to do whatever I want. I don't care what she thinks. And it's true. What I should say is I have a hard time getting behind the idea of using fading simply, or I should say solely, when it's used solely to placate your family and to not rock the boat,
To fake it,
because
basically.
to fake it because you deserve better. They're not getting the real you. And if you're passing that on to your children are learning to, and I know somebody's gonna be like, don't talk about my child, whatever, man, but like you're teaching your kid to be something they're not and to fake it for grandma and grandpa or whatever.
Hmm.
So I have a difficult time getting behind that because now the very things that you and I, Amani, that effed us up in the head, the same stuff that we went through, these people, these PMOs, they're repeating the cycle. You didn't like that we didn't like that, dude, when we were growing up. Whether a
Hmm.
man or woman I'm speaking to, we didn't like that. That messed us up, and now you're doing that to your kid. I'm sorry. I don't think you're a bad parent, but it's like, do you really want to repeat this toxic legacy of you secretly, your PMO, you don't really believe it, and yet you're making your kid put on their damn dress suit
Go out
and
and fill
tie
service, go out and fill
and go
service,
out
build
and
a
feel,
Kingdom Hall.
knock on doors, force your ideology. And it's not even really your ideology because you don't actually believe in it. It's crazy.
Hmm.
I find the whole PMO thing crazy making. But I understand why some people do it to buy time and
Right.
to figure out their next steps. So I can see all sides of the issue and I can understand why people take a certain path. Personally, once the genie was out of the bottle, I couldn't put it back in. Pandora's box or whatever.
For me, I kind of accidentally faded. So I was in college and my publisher's record was in college. I moved back
Uh,
to California and I never told the elders. And then I moved to DC. I moved around the country and it was like, I never talked to anybody. So it just kind of happened organically. So then years
that,
later, I learned that I faded years later, but that's basically what happened with me.
but that's the key distinction that you just brought up, organic.
Hmm.
Whatever organically fits your situation. Meaning that was that was the natural progression for you.
Yep.
And so I'm glad that that happened for you and that can I ask you to have a relationship still with your family?
Yeah, my father, he got this fellowship, so he's
Okay.
fine. My brother kind of
Okay.
faded the same way, kind of just realized that it wasn't the truth. We all
Yeah.
did it kind of independently. So yeah, we all have a good relationship. I still talk to a lot of my witness friends too back in California.
Right, right. Yeah, I think you earlier off camera we were talking
Hmm.
about that. And like I said, it has to be organic.
Hmm.
Like you just brought up or natural. For me, that would not have been the organic natural response.
Right.
I couldn't fake it. Not that this is not me making commentary about you, but I'm saying
Hmm.
like for me, once I knew I was once I knew it was a cult and I was awake, Amani, what I'm trying to say is there's no way, given my circumstances, that I could have faked it from my parents, gi-
Right.
given who they are. My father's an elder, my mother's devout. She pioneered for like I can't. And my brother was, excuse me, my brother was inactive, tying back, my brother was inactive for 20 years. And this is tying back to what you said at the very beginning. You asked me how it affected me, watching my brother, who I absolutely adored, and I never judged him at any point during his being inactive or fading. I didn't care. I had unconditional love for my brother. But what was interesting is that I observed the dynamic between my parents and my brother because you have to understand if my brother's off being inactive, I'm now the golden child that has to redeem the family image. So I'm sort of put on this pedestal that I didn't ask for. I think people think the golden child is just little brat. You're so like it's like I didn't ask for this. I don't want any of this. I don't want to be at the Kingdom Hall. I don't want to be the golden child. I just want to like go about my business and have my life and without this craziness. But my point is, I observed the relationship between my brother and my parents, what they would do is they were holding out hope. They always held out hope. You know how it works. I call it encouragement text.
Oh
Like
yeah. Come to
now we have
special assembly. Come to read this article. Jehovah
yeah,
loves you.
because and they're coming from a good place. They really do. They
Mhm.
love their son. They're hoping they say the right thing. We love you. Jehovah loves you. Checking in, doing the whole thing. But imagine doing that for 20 years, and then
Yeah.
and then eventually he comes back. He eventually comes back. So you have to understand from my specific story and circumstances, I saw that and went, "Oh hell no." I was not going to spend me personally because I could have faded.
You weren't gonna come back though. You weren't coming back to nothing though. You were done.
Done. You see what I mean? I
Hmm.
knew I was done. Whereas I can't speak for my brother and his heart and his mind and what was going through him. So
Right.
he, whatever soup was going through his brain, he eventually went back. But for me, I knew, I'm done, and I don't want to give my mother and father false hope for the next however many years.
Right.
That for me and my temperament specifically would not have worked. That's why fading for me would not have worked. I was like, nah, I'm just gonna have to tell you this is gonna suck. And it was Amani, it was traumatic. It is a form of trauma. It's like a form of it's like blunt force trauma emotionally.
Oh,
Your parents
definitely.
are gone overnight. It's
Yeah.
insanity. No, insanity overnight. And it's because I stood on business. I stood my ground and said, I'm officially done. And it was no like convincing me to come back. It was shocking to their system.
Well, that was the next question I was going to ask you is how was that being shunned or how was that like demarcation? Because once you resign from the organization, that's it. Like you can't go back. You're basically blocking them, unfriending them. It's done and finished. So what was that like for you?
Oh, you mean like blocking, like people when they find out that you disassociated, it's
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, you're dead. Oh yeah, I was
Yep.
instantly dead. And what was that like? It was there's no words really to describe it. It's I curled up in the fetal position and sobbed like a crazy person for like it's such a blur.
Hmm.
It is a form of trauma. You block stuff out.
Right.
Um, it was knowing it was knowing that if I don't do this for myself. Again, somebody might be listening to this, Amani, and go, well, you shouldn't have disassociated. You made it harder on yourself. You should have just, no, 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 no. This is what I needed to do for myself.
Yeah, it's all
I,
individual. Like what you
yeah,
work for you might not work for the next person.
exactly. So I knew if I didn't disassociate, it was going to be a problem. If I did not disassociate, I was going to like have to, uh-oh, I can have the tree up, Christmas tree at this time, but then when mom and pop drive by, I got to make sure it's gone. And I got
Right.
to make sure I would have to, I knew that I was going to have to filter myself for the rest of my life
Hmm.
just to please. And I was not okay with the deception, the hypocrisy, the fakery.
Right.
I was over all of it. So for my mental and emotional well-being,
You're done
I
with all the fuckery. No more fuckery. You're just
no
done
more
with it.
fuckery. No more. I'm over it. I'm tapped out on the fuckery.
Hmm.
So that's why I felt like I needed to disassociate. But also, it's your parents. It's inhumane. So it's not like it's not as simple as, well, that's that, sign on the line and you're done. And yet it was that simple. Sign on the line, done. And I literally lost my parents overnight.
Hmm.
So what was that like? It's surreal. That's the word.
Yeah.
It is completely surreal that, and you have to understand, Amani, even if I didn't write on a piece of paper and sign it and do the official process, you don't have to. People, there's people that are opposed to that and don't agree with that. But even if you didn't, my parents are going to hear my thoughts eventually. And like you said, we talked about earlier, you're going to shun me anyway because you're going to
Yep.
hear my apostate thinking, my heretic thinking, and you're going to shun me anyway because you're fully indoctrinated and
Hmm.
think that what I'm saying is satanic anyway. So I'm not going to bullshit anybody and lie about who I am. This is how I feel, and I'm disassociating. So it was for me, it was very empowering. Um,
Hmm.
but it was funny. Yes, my husband woke up before I did, and he was showing me this information. I was just like, "Oh, I don't want to hear it." And then finally, when I found out about the CSA cases, that was when I was like, "Oh, I'm done." And like I was all in. Hope that answered your question.
Oh, definitely. So that being said, Bethany, where do you stand now with your beliefs in church or in religion? Where do you stand?
Yeah, so I'm not opposed to uh faith or spirituality or, people going to church or whatever. I'll just say this right now. I'm not affiliated with any church or belief system. Um, I'm open-minded to hearing different viewpoints. I've visited different, I don't know for any people who are watching this who may not know this about Jehovah's Witnesses, they're not allowed to study other religious texts or visit other churches. There's no interfaith, anything like that. So when I left the organization, that was one of the first things I did was like, I get to go to church and find out for myself. Um, but just me personally at the time right now, I'm not affiliated with anything, but I'm a big believer, firm believer in following your intuition.
Mm.
And that doesn't mean that might mean different things to different people. That doesn't necessarily mean you're always going to do the right thing. You're not going to make mistakes. But I do think that as Jehovah's Witnesses, we're taught to suppress that and ignore those voices.
Yep. Those
And
voices are the demons. It's the devil talking to you.
it's the devil talking to you, or your heart is treacherous. We know you better than you know yourself.
Yeah.
I'm very much opposed to that. So I think just as far as spirituality goes, just reconnecting with your intuition. Where we live in such a saturated society with, scrolling and what does TikTok say and what does the news say, and we get all these influences and messages. And I'm not saying I think it's good that you should take in. In fact, I'm gonna pause for a second. Something I appreciate about you, Amani, if you will let me do so. What I appreciate about you is I was watching one of your videos. Well, there's several things I appreciate about you, but I was watching one of your videos and you said, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm paraphrasing. All right. Paraphrasing, you said something about like your grandmother. This was one of your recent videos. I think you were in California and you said something about your grandmother. You found out well, she's a witness, but you found out she was watching all your content or your videos. Am I
It was a
getting
friend. It was a friend of mine. Yeah, a good friend. My best friend growing up, who's a witness actually.
right? Oh, okay. And they were watching all your videos.
Yeah, yeah.
And you said something in your video for anybody who hasn't watched it. You guys should go watch it. What I appreciated was you said you will give credit, and again, I'm paraphrasing this, you'll give credit or respect to anybody who is at least willing to listen to different viewpoints or sources of information.
Hmm.
And then you can process it, synthesize this information or whatever, and then you can form a conclusion or form an opinion. You have such a balanced, reasonable approach, and you just got reasonable vibes. And that's why I agreed to do this.
Hmm.
Um, Not only because you're just an ex-Jehovah's Witness, but you have a very reasonable way about you. And I think that that's sorely lacking. I think that's the deficit in our society now.
Yeah.
I mean, another buzzword we've heard so much, echo chamber. People stay in
Hmm.
their echo chambers, and there's nothing wrong, kind of tying into like religion and spirituality. There's nothing wrong with you having your belief system, whatever that belief or cause or set of values is. It's when you completely, I see a lot of XJWs is they completely, not a lot, but a subset or a percentage will
Hmm.
completely shut down and want to censor. I'm thinking, whoa, 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 whoa. You're doing the same thing that we went through.
Exactly.
So I don't begrudge you your new set of beliefs, whatever they are, whether you're
Hmm.
religious or not religious, whether it's a social justice issue or whatever the thing is. Some XJWs will attach themselves to a new camp or a new thing,
Hmm.
and that's fine if that's you're standing on principle, standing on business, and that's who you are. But to completely shut down or shut out other viewpoints or being willing to have conversations where it's respectful and not resorting to insults, things like that, that's what I appreciate about you is that you're at least balanced and reasonable and you can be open-minded. So I probably going off here, but when you talk about like being open-minded, that because that's what I'm saying about you.
Hmm.
People think open-minded means you don't have a backbone or you have no principles or you never choose how
No,
you
I know what I
never
believe in.
choose.
I just, yeah, I'm just
Yeah,
willing to listen to anybody's perspective, basically.
exactly. It doesn't mean you have to agree with them. It doesn't mean you have to instantly be like, yeah, I'm cool with it. Open-minded doesn't mean you're cool with everything. It just means you're willing to hear different perspectives and viewpoints. And like you said, you can appreciate anybody who's willing to do that, and you can still end up forming conclusions or
Hmm.
beliefs based on that. And I respect that about you. So
Well, thank you very
yeah,
much. I appreciate that.
but yeah, I mean, like, I love the beach. I love nature. I love hikes. I think I find spirituality in nature currently.
Yeah, which is
And,
completely fair and it's a completely honest perspective, I feel like.
maybe that's not the answer you were looking for.
No, it's whatever. Like I really don't care. Like it's just
Yeah.
whatever you're wherever you are right now is what I want to know.
If I'm being completely honest, just reconnecting with my intuition because I was told
Hmm.
not to listen to it for
Yeah,
30.
we really were. Yeah.
And then being out, getting fresh air, exercising. I'm a big believer in that's a whole other thing, metabolic health
Hmm.
and getting out fresh air and, eating as well as you can. Nobody can do everything perfectly, but just reconnecting with myself and feeling grounded in nature and figuring things out as I go along. So,
As we all are, as we all are. So let's talk a little about your YouTube channel, Stop the Shunning. What prompted you to create that? How long have you been making videos there?
yeah, so I started Stop the Shunning right after I left, right after I disassociated. So my husband and I, we actually have a freedom versary that's coming up on December 31st
Hmm.
on New Year's Eve because we disassociated on New Year's Eve 2017.
Wow.
So coming up here, we're going to have we call it our freedom versary when we disassociated. And it was pretty much, I think it was fall of 2018 that I started Stop the Shunning, but seriously, I had no plans. Like there was no strategy to it. I literally just I was so I know he's a very polarizing figure, but Lloyd Evans helped wake a lot of our asses up. If you're being honest with yourself, you're watching this, Lloyd Evans woke a lot helped us through our waking up process, whether you
Hmm.
like him or hate him. Um So him, XJW, critical thinker, JT,
JT and Lady C.
JT and Lady C. JT and Lady C, he was instrumental because the dude looks like an elder still.
He he talks like an elder still.
He talks like an elder, and just the way he's, I'd rather have, or the, how does he, how does he put it? I'd rather have uh questions I cannot answer than answers I cannot question. Sorry, that's my my bad JT impression. But but yeah, these voices, this XJW community, that was actually really eye-opening, Amani.
Hmm.
That's part of it. I didn't realize when you're entering, and not maybe this is just me, I don't know if anybody else watching this feels this way. When you disassociate, you know you're in apostate in their eyes. You
Exactly.
feel like you're in a dark, lonely place. So when you get on the internet, you realize, holy shit, there's a whole
Yeah, that's what happened
there's
with
a
me.
whole
So,
community.
yep. Because I've been so removed from Jehovah's Witnesses, and I was like, well, there's a lot of energy around this whole topic. And I was like, well, maybe some folks resonate with me sharing my story. So then I started getting other stories, and here we are.
It's a game changer. It's
Hmm.
a game changer because you can wake up for all your reasons that we've just all the reasons we've discussed, but knowing that you're not alone and you go on the internet and there's a YouTube community of people who are like, "Oh yeah, yeah, you're not crazy."
And nothing makes you give a shit less. Like at first you're like, oh, is somebody gonna see this or see me as apostate? Fuck that. I don't care now.
I
What,
don't care.
hit my
Exactly.
vape or what? Like, I don't care. What are they gonna
It,
do?
exactly. And so just
Hmm.
but hearing different creators, what it does to your brain. I'm trying to break this down for anybody who might not know, because you and I get it,
Right.
like, but I'm trying to like break it down. When you leave the Jehovah's Witnesses, you're told as a Jehovah's Witness to never get on the internet, never read anything critical. So when you leave, you still might not, everybody has their own journey and it looks different when they leave. But I didn't think anything of it. I just thought, well, I'm out and I'm apostate. My parents shunned me, and now life, I have
Nothing
to
to,
figure.
nothing to lose.
Yeah. Well, yeah, not just that, but like I didn't know that there was a YouTube. What I'm trying to say is I didn't know there was a YouTube community on the other side. And except,
Right.
let me back up. I should say during my fading process, when
Hmm.
I dared to look online. That's a key point of the waking up.
Yeah, what was that first experience like?
Yeah.
Why don't you share your first research
Yeah.
period for me, or your experience with that?
Yeah, so just real quick, before I disassociated, that's when I really when my husband was showing me stuff and I'm going, okay, 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 leave me alone. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to think about it. But then when I finally was like, oh, the CSA stuff, when we were told the Catholic railing against the Catholic Church my whole life, and we're just as bad, if not worse, or definitely worse technically, but that's a whole other situation we could get into. But you have this massive cover up. That's when I was like, oh, hell no. And I got on jwfacts.com, and it somehow, I didn't know about the YouTube community.
Hmm.
It just one thing leads to another. And then you find out, you're like, oh, holy crap, there's all these XJ dubs on YouTube. And so it was XJW, Critical Thinker, JT Lady C, Lloyd Evans. It was not, they were not the raging apostates, the scary,
Right.
the scary, disgruntled former members.
Demon ravaging, looking
Yes,
to devour someone. Ah, the devil wants me to corrupt all the witnesses who are innocent.
tear down their faith. Exactly. It was literally just them sitting there going, hey, you do realize this doesn't make sense. It was just common sense. And
Right.
the common sense appealed to me.
Hmm.
So that was a total eye opener. And so I just devoured. I
Were you
mean,
nervous of that first time? Were you sweating? Did you have any sort of fear in terms of looking at the content? Were you like, oh my
oh
God, I'm about to
yeah.
click?
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Hmm.
Definitely had nerves. It was actually, Amani, it's funny you say that because it really wasn't YouTube yet. It was JW Facts. And then
Okay.
it was jwfacts.com. And then I found an art. You want to hear something funny? I found, excuse me, I found an article from like, it was like some random Google search. I wasn't searching for this. I just found it. I stumbled upon it. It was like, Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona, there's going to be a convention coming up. in the Phoenix Times or whatever. And I'm just like, oh, yeah. And I'm scrolling through. Mind you, I'm inactive. I'm fading at this point. I'm not fully 100% awake.
Right.
I had had a nervous breakdown, and
Mm.
I had decided to never step foot in a Kingdom Hall again. And then I went into hermit phase, into hermit mode, and was away from the Kingdom Hall. So this is just me sitting on my laptop, just happened to stumble upon some stuff that, yes, I was a little nervous. But what's funny is I get to the Phoenix Times or whatever it was. Oh, Arizona Summer District Convention for the Jehovah's Witnesses, blah, blah, blah. They're such nice people. They work together, they clean the stadium. I'm looking at, you know how you go on a newspaper, even not even YouTube, but just like a newspaper will have comments, just a little comment section on some like small local regional
Right.
newspaper. And when I read the comments, this was the thing.
Ah,
It was
the
Jehovah's
cult.
Jehovah's Witnesses r- try to control every aspect of your life. My childhood was ruined. I was seeing things that I was like, "Oh my God, I agree with them. I can't, holy shit, I can't look at this."
Mm.
That was actually the first thing, the like blue pill, red pill or whatever, the major
Right.
thing of like, "Oh shit, I just felt something inside of, yup, I feel seen, I feel understood, I feel validated, but no, 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 I can't look at this." And then it became, I gotta look at this.
Right.
And then it was YouTube, and then eventually, December 31st, New Year's Eve, 2017, my husband John and I, we disassociated, and then just moving into the next phase, and then, but around 2018, I was so inspired by the YouTube community. And I say that, some people are against the word community, whatever. It's a game of semantics. But you know what I mean? A group of
Mhm.
YouTubers who are XJW. I was so
Right.
inspired by these people. I was like, damn, you know what? I gotta say something. I gotta say something. But I was just gonna like toss in my change, toss in my 2 cents, because um I was like, damn, that there would be nothing more fulfilling in life. This organization stole my parents from me, created anxiety that wouldn't otherwise be there. Anxiety and depression that wouldn't otherwise be there. Because Amani, I grew up as a healthy, happy kid.
Right.
It's not like, and I'm being dead serious when I say this, it's not like I was, well, when she was 8, she was diagnosed with some serious manic depressive disorder and she's been struggling, or she has some whatever the thing is. I didn't have any kind of diagnosis. So why would an otherwise happy, healthy child grow up to have suicidal ideation?
Right. Or
Sorry, maybe
depressive thoughts or be
depressive thoughts.
anxiety.
Exactly. It doesn't add up. So you can't tell me, whether it's my parents or religious leaders, you cannot tell me this exists in a vacuum and I'm just crazy. So, um,
Well, the
yeah,
thing is too,
sorry,
is
I
you're not
trailed
the only
off.
person. I mean, I've talked to many people who've also had anxiety, mental health issues, depression, suicidal ideation is all behind being a Jehovah's Witness. So I think it's very real.
It drives you to madness.
Hmm.
It drives you to madness because it's one thing if the organization, if Jehovah's Witnesses were just teaching, oh, you have to look, you get to look forward to paradise and better times or whatever their teachings are.
But it's only if you live like this,
It's
sin free,
only
guilt free.
it's the constant pressure, it's the pressure and the threats. So it's,
Hmm.
even if I think it's kind of like magical and goofy, that's one argument. That's not really my argument. My argument is that it's the undercurrent of pressure and threats, and that's what was making me sick and making me and other people, tons of other former Jehovah's Witnesses can attest to this. That's what drives you to madness. And not just that, maintain a sense of urgency. It's urgent. It's around the corner. It's around the corner. You do that to, let's take Jehovah's Witnesses out of the equation. All right. Imagine whatever. Maybe this is a bad analogy. You tell a kid, Santa's coming, Santa's coming, Santa's coming, and then they never see Santa, and oh, whatever. You keep telling them, or we have a cure for your sickness. You have an illness. You've been diagnosed with some illness, and these doctors found a cure. Well, we're still working on it. We're still working on it. We're still working on it. What does it say in the Bible? Expectation postponed makes the heart sick. So you're literally driving your parishioners to madness instead of
Yeah.
offering them paradise and saying, well, you know what? It's not here yet, but God loves you regardless. And when it shows up, Cool, great. No, it's always with conditions. Love, you grow up with conditional love.
Hmm.
Yep.
So has your blog, has your YouTube channel been therapeutic for you, like personally?
It has been incredibly therapeutic and cathartic and fulfilling, because I have something to say, whether you want to watch it, subscribe or not. I have something I'm going to say because I'm tired of the fakery. The fakery that I was under for 30 years, I
Mhm.
finally had an outlet to say, this is fakery, don't fall for it. You know? So that was, it was sticking it to the group that stole my life from me. And I had other good things in my life. So I'm not like, oh, I'm not going to come here and be disingenuous, Amani, and be like, my childhood was so horrible and my life was. I had good things in my childhood.
Right.
I was raised in a cult that also screwed up my head and led me to some pretty dark thoughts and dark times. So I wanted to stick it to the organization. It had nothing to do with sticking it to my parents. That's the distinction. Because it's too easy to say, well, she's just bitter, she has an axe to grind, or
Right.
she wants revenge. Or, are you kidding me? I would love to. If my parents woke up right now, no, 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 no. Scratch that. Let me reverse that. If my parents called me right now, Amani, and were like, you know what, we don't agree with your lifestyle, Beth. We don't agree with the fact that you left. We're disheartened or whatever, but we still love you and we still want to maintain a relationship, somewhat of a civil relationship. We're just going to agree that we don't talk about such and such. I'd be totally fine with
Yep.
that. I would take them to the Kingdom Hall. I would drive.
Right.
Oh, you're going out in service? You're going to Panera with Sister Jones? Sure, I'll drive you. With you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
the ball is in their court. It always has been. I never shut the door to my parents. But
Right.
what I'm not going to do is facilitate my own abuse and keep reaching out to you or begging you to acknowledge my existence. That's kind of another thing that happens with XJWs who leave and who are shunned. Sorry, that's me getting into something else, but um yeah.
Well, let's hop into the hot seat questions now if you feel. I think it's a good point now. The first one is, what would be your definition of a spiritual awakening?
Spiritual awakening. Personal agency. So, just don't be so quick to buy in to whatever the narrative du jour is, whether it's in the news cycle, whether it's somebody you love telling you something. You're going to have influences coming from everywhere. Just remember that you are in control. Don't hand over your conscience or your mind, because it might not be packaged in what we came from in Watchtower, goofy looking Watchtower, goofy looking Jehovah's Witness style religion or whatever. It might be something else. And you think, oh, I'm free, I can do whatever I want, which is true, but still carry those critical thinking skills over into whatever else you're getting involved in. Because then I'm not saying you'll never make a mistake or you can't explore and try different things, but ultimately just know that you're in control and you have personal agency. Don't let other people use guilt, shame, fear-mongering, canceling, or anything like that to force you into submission.
Good answer. Next question is, what's the most valuable lesson that you've learned in life so far?
Sometimes the biggest rewards are going to cost you the most.
Mm, that's a good
So,
one.
I mean, so it's going to suck, but what's the trade-off?
Mhm.
Pretending to be something you're not for the rest of your life? I mean, just in my case, that's all I can think of. Yeah.
And last question, Beth, what would be your advice to someone who's starting to question things or starting to wake up to maybe things aren't really as I thought they were, or just have questions about their religion or anything in their life?
You're going to lose friends. Even if you don't lose family, there will be a cost. There's a cost to every decision. You just have to decide which risks are worth taking, which choices or shifting gears. Because it might not be the Jehovah's Witnesses, it might be something completely different, completely unrelated. And you realize, oh, I thought this was my tribe, I thought this was my people, or I thought this is what I was supposed to. And then you express concerns or doubts, and then they want to bite your head off or be about it. Do you get what I'm saying? So
Hmm.
um, just have the courage and resilience to stand up for what you believe is right. Letting people do their thing, but ultimately, you got to do what you believe is right within your conscience. Follow your conscience. Um, so yeah, but just know
Beth,
there's going to be a cost.
thank you, Beth, for all your time. Where can people find you on YouTube? What's the name of your channel? And I think they know it, but just say it
Yeah,
anyways.
just go to Stop the Shunning. That's my channel name. And yeah, thanks for having me on, Amani. I really appreciate it. I had a great time. Thank you for
I
what
enjoy your
you're doing.
presence. Thank you.